Very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Pavani. I hope you're doing good. Today is 5th December and it's Wednesday today, and I have a very interesting quote for you guys. Very positive, very energetic quote. There was never a night or problem that could defeat sunrise or hope by Bernard Williams. Basically, it means that if you have hope, if you have optimism, if you have that positive attitude within you, then there is no problem in the world that you cannot solve. With this, dear friends, if you want to check out demo lectures of our pen drive and tablet courses, if you want to know more about our pen drive and tablet courses, the best faculties and who are the faculties associated behind various different pen drive and tablet courses, and good thing about and things that we have covered and other things, you can check out StudyIQ.com. If you have any question or queries, you can feel free and give us a call on the numbers that you can see on your screen. Now today we have many important articles to go through. The first one is shift to low carbon. Now before talking about this particular, jumping on to this article, I have a small question for you guys. Can you give me the name of a meeting that took place recently, a big meeting, a global level meeting that took place in Poland? What is the exact name of that meeting? Stick your answer in the chat or in the comment section of this video. It's just a wake up question. I'm sure many of you will get it right. So after this one, we are going to talk about two editorial. One is about malnutrition, stunted, wasted, and the second one is about this mob lynching. Then we are going to talk about smoke situation that is created because of this stubble burning. And the last one is going to be this one, this private investment. What's going on with private investment, what government has tried, and architecture. There are 4 pillars that this article is talking about, and some interesting points. So let's start our discussion with this shift to low carbon. Now I'm sure many of you have got it right. It's a COP24, that is Conference of Parties 24, a meeting that took place in Poland. And a big question that we need to ask ourselves, and I believe the whole world as well as each and every individual, each and every country has to ask, are we able to control carbon emission? This is the main culprit, right? Carbon emissions, particularly after industrial revolution. We are on the verge of fourth, from third, we are about to jump to fourth industrial revolution. The first one was predominantly about steam engine and this using coal and other things, and it was more about steam, and then came electricity, and then came automated electricity things, and at present we are about to jump to this fourth industrial revolution, which is going to be more about artificial intelligence. And of course automation is a thing, but it is going to be more artificial intelligence and this 3D machine learning and Internet of Things, and all these things are going to be part of fourth industrial revolution. So I believe that in fourth industrial revolution we are going to be a bit more efficient in use of energy. Renewable energy is something that is expanding at present. Things are going very well, but still things are not, I would say, we are not doing enough. If I can put it in a nutshell, we are not doing enough. And at present we are in December, so if we go back and look this whole year, we now have various different agencies. They have these reports regarding this natural disasters that took place in 2018, and if we go through it, then we find that rich as well as poor countries have faced extensive damage from storms and heat waves. The most interesting thing about this article is that we find some basic items. Basic, when I say basic, I'm talking about your general studies, so things that are part of your basic understanding, the reasons and science behind things. You find a couple of lines here, and these lines are important. I will explain it to you, and I will show you how you should prepare. So I believe this will help many beginners as well, as far as preparation is concerned. Now it is important for all of us, for the whole world. When I say for us, do take it as a country, do take it as an individual, as a society, as a state, as a human species. It is important for us to control this carbon emission, because it is the main culprit that is you can say this igniting this climate change. If we go through some states of our country, Chennai is of course a city, but then you have these states called Kerala, Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, Assam. All these 4 states, they have faced a flood situation, right, in same year. At the same time, what we find is various different states or UTs, union territories like Delhi, Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, they are facing drought situation. So here you can see this paradox that is been fueled by this climate change. In one country we find this sort of variation. Now carbon dioxide is the biggest component of GHGs. GHGs stands for greenhouse gases. Now there are high chances that you can find a MCQ on this thing. Just imagine if you find a MCQ asking you to consider the below given items, and then you find carbon dioxide and methane and carbon monoxide and other items, and then you have to arrange them using the codes that are given below. So you have to arrange the biggest component, and then comes the second one, and then third. So it's basically in descending order. So remember, carbon dioxide is the biggest component of GHGs, and this is what we call attention to details, right? When you read something, particularly articles and editorials, you have to pay attention to these things as well. I'm not saying that each and every line, but in your first reading, of course, you can go through the item, and then your second and third reading, you have to pay attention to these things. And yes, you'd be wondering that I'm talking about second and third reading. Yes, you have to. When you read and reread a particular thing, then you find that there are so many different layers that you will start unlocking those layers. So yes, some editorials, articles you have to read and reread. Now CO2 make the earth warmer and lead to heat waves. Now if you are a beginner, right, and if you have no idea, see, most of you have finished your schooling, isn't it? So you'll be aware about, you will have a sort of a vague memory about, we have read something like this or studied this thing in school. So CO2, that is carbon dioxide, make the earth warmer. So why? How it makes our earth warmer? What are some basic, you can say, characteristics of this carbon dioxide? Where do you find carbon dioxide? Right, is it used in our day-to-day life? Yes, we use it in our for protection, right? It is used as fire extinguisher. So why do we use it as a fire extinguisher? All these questions, right, and answers, basically you'll find answers in your NCERTs, and this is how you prepare for your general studies. You find something in current affairs, or the best way is to do it simultaneously. You should divide your time for your basic studies as well as your current affairs. This is something that you have to do it on regular basis until you have a good grip on your basic or general studies. So when you read something, say for example, if you read this chapter on carbon dioxide and climate change, and some chapters you find in science, some chapters you find in geography. So when you read these chapters, right, and when you come across this sort of thing like climate change, then you have to stop there, and you have to think and try to make connection. And this is how your understanding, your capacity will improve. I hope this tip will help you. So CO2 make the earth warmer because it has this capacity to absorb heat. Now what's happening is that see, greenhouse gases are fine. They help us in keeping a fine, good, warm, a sort of appropriate environment that can help us survive. It helps basically in overall it plays a very important role in supporting the life on earth. But what happens when there is excessive amount of carbon dioxide, right? So it will absorb more heat, and then the temperature will go up. Now the higher temperature, right, warmer the air will get, and warmer air holds more moisture because the molecules are away from each other. So it has this capacity, and then you can fit water droplets here. I'm just giving you a very rough example, but I hope things are making sense here. So warmer air holds more moisture, which results in more intense rainfall. So in some places you have floods, and because everything is poured down at one place, the other place will or can face drought-like situation. And this sort of warmer air holding more moisture provides more energy for storms as well, so natural disasters. And warm coastal waters will turn unsuitable for species of fish as well, so it will hurt our flora and fauna and other species. So I hope you can, from this basic information, you can understand the gravity of the events that are taking place. Now we have a good example of country called Japan. Japan has invested a lot of money on coastal defenses. They have got this world's largest underground flood water diversion facility Tokyo is one of the most important city for Japan, one of the most important city for the world as well. It is one of the most populated, one of the most expensive city. It's like an engine for Japan, and if Tokyo goes down, then Japan goes down as well. So Tokyo is, of course, a very important place for Japan, and they cannot afford to shut down the city because of flood. But the location of Tokyo is in such a place that it is prone to floods. And Japan, you know that it is on a ring of fire, so earthquakes, tsunamis, and other things are quite common over there. But floods is, it will choke your city. So what they have done is they have created this sort of cylinder. So basically they have, created a, I would say, underground river, right, or a storage tank where excessive flood water will be diverted and it will be stored in these tanks that you can see here. So this is how Japan is mitigating or it is responding to this flood-like situation that can take place. Even people of Japan, they hardly, they will not even notice that they have mitigated this sort of thing. So it is working that fine, but we cannot afford to do that thing for 7,500 kilometer coastline that we have in our country. So we have to work on both the ends, right? We have to on one side work on reduction of carbon dioxide or carbon emission. At the same time, we have to work on mitigating. Mitigating is basically you are going to go through some sort of disaster, you are going to face some risks, and you are going to go through some bad situation. Now it is on us how we can make it how we can make it as minimum as possible. That's what mitigation is all about. So we have all these technologies like satellites in the sky that can help us, do evacuation before a storm hits us. But every time means that's the only thing that we are doing. But mitigation, evacuation, preparedness, all these things are fine. But at the same time, we have to work on ways through which we can reduce this number of disasters. And because of this global climate change and global warming, we also find this thing, many times we have talked about this thing as well, that the frequency as well as intensity of this natural disasters have gone up. So I hope things are clear to you. Now let's move on to second item. It's about Stunted Wasted. It's about this Global Nutrition Report 2018. Now one thing that we have discussed many a times, and I'm repeating these things here, figures are in front of you guys. A third of world's stunted children under 5, an estimated 46.6 million who have low weight for age. So stunted basically means low height, not low weight, but low height for age means stunted. We have 46.6 million kids in our country who are under the age of 5. They are living in our country. So that's a third of the world's stunted children. When it comes to wasting means, or wasted means, low weight for height. That's what wasted means. So a quarter, that means roughly 25% of children are living in our country. All right, world population, if world has 100 wasted children, then we have 25 of them in our country. So you can see the situation of our country. It's very bad as far as this nutrition is concerned. It's a matter of shame as well that we are an agricultural based economy. More than 50% of our population is associated with agriculture, so food should not be a bit of problem for us. But in fact, food is a problem for us. And what we have focused on food grains only, right? Even today we find, nowadays you see this thing that non-communicable diseases are expanding, and hardly you find people doing exercise. When I say hardly, out of 1 lakh people, if 10 or if 100 people are doing exercise and staying healthy, then that's not a unique thing. That's a matter of shame for the whole society. So still we have not been able to develop that culture in our society. The other thing is, if you look at the diet, then as well we find that it is not balanced, right? It's not balanced. It's more about rice. It's more about carbs. Generally, that's what people, particularly poor people, they can afford and they are focused on. So this is one of the main reason why we find this sort of stunting and wasting and all this sort of bad reports, and number of kids are affected by this sort of diseases. Then we have most horrific thing as well. We have wide variation in stunting levels in different parts of our country. If we observe central India, then we find that 30% of kids are stunted. In northern India, 40%. On an average, when we talk about South India, it's 20%. So This nutrition is not just limited with food, it has many other factors as well, like political commitment. How committed are our politicians? How much attention as a government we are paying to this problem? Because this problem is one of the most severe problem, as we have talked about earlier on as well. The biggest asset and a nation has, right? A biggest asset I'm talking about. The best resource is not your rare earth material. It's not oil. It's not your your uranium or your energy sources or any other metals that you have beneath your earth. That's not your biggest asset or resource. Your biggest resource is your human capital. Human beings, are they educated? Are they healthy? Do they have skills? If you have these three things in your population, then you can achieve whatever you want. Take example of Japan. Japan is not a country that has huge amount of oil or natural resources and things like that, but they have this understanding, and that's what they have focused on. They have focused on human capital. And look at Japan, look at South Korea, right? These countries are good examples of investment in human capital. Now, coming back to India, just imagine if we have this huge population of stunted and wasted kids in our country. They are going to be future citizens. So first of all, point number one is that where do you find this sort of kids? In which family do you find them? You find them in poor families, isn't it? If you find them in poor family, that means they are not having enough food, and the other thing is they would have to spend more money after medicine, because these kids will be frequently sick, isn't it? So a family, most of its earning will be spent after this medical expenses. It will be waste of time as well, waste of productivity of parents. Generally, we find that both mother and father are working to win 2 square meal, and that as well is not a balanced meal. So we find this sort of situation. Mostly we find kids in poor families who are affected by this malnutrition. The other thing is, when they will grow up, when they are kids, right, when someone is affected with malnutrition, their overall development and growth will get hampered. So their education, they won't be that sharp in education. And because of this thing, if you look at their graph, when they will become adult, right, they will not be that productive compared to a healthy person. So this vicious cycle of poverty will keep on, it will get more and more, I would say, kinetic energy too, and the pace will keep on building. So that's negative for the whole society. So political commitment plays a very important role. Apart from that, administrative efficiency, are we able to deliver right items at the right time to the right people? Literacy and women's empowerment plays a very important role, right? A mother, a daughter-in-law, if she is educated, then you will find a sort of touch of education, a touch of awareness in the whole family. So women play a very important role in this thing, and Anganwadi services schemes are going on, integrated child development services are going on, and it is also, with the help of various different reports, we can safely say now that this packet food is not, you cannot compare it with whole foods and cooked meals, right? They emerge as superior, they are best when it comes to fighting malnutrition. And the last item that I would like to add here is that social services spending, it should be 6.6% of GDP as per Economic Survey 2017-18, but even today we are somewhere between bit lower than what we need to spend after our social services. Now moving on to another item, it is about a moving menace. This one is about this mob lynching that was just reported, and it's a very sad thing. Violence in Uttar Pradesh, Bulandshahr district was reported. Now the thing is, I'm going to take you through some basic things. Why we find it? The basic question is why we find this type of riots or these mob lynchings why they are quite common in our country, right? In our country, sadly, we don't have this police drills. We don't see police doing drills at fixed point of time, or periodic drills are not executed by police when it comes to riot control. So they are not, most of our police personnel, they are not professionally trained when it comes to controlling riots. The second thing is we don't have this eye in the sky or eye at every crossroad, like CCTVs, right, are still not that much, area of a city or town is covered by CCTV, then intelligence bureau or information gathering plays a very important role. If there is going to be any sort of mob attack, or if there are some organizations who are active and engaged in this sort of activities, then you need proper ground reality reports, and your intelligence officers and your intelligence bureau can play a very important role. So this thing is important. And so technology, a touch of technology, awareness, then impartiality of police, political parties and their interference, regular, day-to-day working of police and interference, and influential people and political parties, how they can, influence police, is something that is, I don't have to explain these things to you, isn't it? You know it very well. So all these things gives a sense of confidence to all those people, or a mob. They know it very well that they are never, the case will go on for ages, and it will be nearly impossible for the system to punish them. So this is something that gives them confidence. And then you have this political patronage and other things. And so these are some basic background reasons why we find this sort of situation in our country, why we find this sort of mob lynching is quite common in our country. Now, one more thing that I would like to draw your attention at is this one. Investigation is going on, but we need to find whether this was a sort of a mob that was organically formed. If it is an organically formed mob, then that's a matter of concern as well, because it indicates overall violent nature of the people of our society. If organically people can come, stick together, and if they can take law in their hands, then that's a matter of concern. And if there is a conspiracy, then as well it is a matter of concern. Then we need to hunt down those people who are polarizing our society. With this, dear friends, moving on to another item, it is about cutting through the smog. Now this one is about stubble burning. Incidents of stubble burning cannot be averted by imposing fines. Now this topic, we have talked about it earlier on as well. I have delivered a special lecture on this thing, available both in Hindi and English. It's been nearly, I think, more than an year that I have talked about this stubble burning. I think it's nearly 1 year. So last year, when this situation was going on, at that point of time, I made a special lecture. I have provided a solution as well. I'm going to talk about the solution here, but if you want to know a bit more about it, then check out that special video lecture that is available on our YouTube channel. Now look at the situation. This year, October 1st, you find small patches of this red dots, and then you find on 7th, you find it in India as well. This one is Pakistan side, and then you find it here. And on 8th, you find it in more parts, and then you see 10th, everything is sorted out, and by then you find these things are covered with smoke. And it's not just this place, this whole Indo-Gangetic belt, right, is affected by this smoke, because Delhi is our capital, so more focus or more lens are focused towards Delhi, but there are a few other towns and cities and places in our country in this Indo-Gangetic belt. They are more polluted than Delhi because of this smoke at various different point of time. Now, key factor behind the formation of a dense cover of smoke is this stubble burning. And we are in this particular article, what we find is, we find some core reasons why we are in this situation. Back in 1960s, at that point of time, our country was totally dependent on, when I say totally, I mean to say that we were not self-sufficient in food production. So food was imported from USA and other countries. Dominantly USA was providing us wheat and other things. So our situation was not that good. So at that point of time, the best thing for us was green revolution. So wheat paddy crop rotation was encouraged in Punjab and Haryana to make India self-sufficient in food grain production, because Indus River and this good quality soil is available here. This portion, this Punjab Haryana, is a plain portion of our country. I'm sure you know basic things about geography, that you have this Himalayan portion, and then soil and everything, like millions of years of deposition has created these plains in our country. And then you have this Haryana and Punjab, and then you have river and water and everything available. So it's ideal for this this agriculture production. So green revolution was need of the hour at that point of time. And this rotation thing, basically crop rotation, means at present you are sowing your wheat. Once wheat is harvested, then prepare your land for paddy, and after that wheat. So it's like maximum utilization of your resources, and here resource means land. So this thing was promoted with the help of Green Revolution. If you have to, then add some chemicals and other things so that you can get the most out of your land, and this was promoted. And what we find, a negative side of this Green Revolution is land degradation, land pollution, as well as fermenting of water tables, right? Water table has gone down. At the same time, we find that land has become polluted. Look at the figures here. Punjab paddy rice share 6.8%. It was back in 66-67. It is almost 36.4. It was 4.97 in Haryana back in 1966-67. But at present it is 20%, and this thing has expanded. This rice portion has expanded at the cost of other local products. So that's again a matter of concern. Now, excessive MSP, too much focus on this thing, on MSP, and encouraging MSPs on rice and paddy and other things has created this sort of situation. Apart from that, there is a law as well in Punjab that Punjab enacted a water conservation law in 2009 which mandates paddy sowing within a notified period, sometime in June instead of the earlier practice of May. So now farmers, they have a very, you can say, small window, right? 15 to 20 days. In this 15 to 20 days, they have to sort out this, they have to clear the land, and they have to prepare it for wheat production. And this is one of the main reasons why they find it a bit difficult. They have this labor is expensive and other things associated. So the easiest option and low cost solution is to burn the field. Now this burning of field has negative impact on land quality and other small insects, the good friendly insects and this insecticides. Insects are not insecticides, but the small pests, friendly pests, they die as well because of this stubble burning. So what can we do about it? We have to encourage crop diversification. We have some good examples of this fruit that is a type of orange that has been this diversification towards orange has created good wealth for farmers in some parts of Haryana and Punjab. Adequate labor supply. Now it's a matter of concern that we have young population. There are crores and crores of people who are looking for job, and then we find labor supply shortage. So that means something is going wrong with our culture, right? Everyone wants to work in big offices, and tertiary sector wants to earn a huge amount of money, but no one is ready to do labor work. So something is wrong in our mentality as well, if I'm not wrong, or else we should not find in this big populated country, how can there be a labor supply shortage? And we need to create this model, Uberization of agricultural happy seeder and other machines, so small farmers can rent these big machines. They cannot, of course, afford it. No one will be inclined to purchase this machine that they are going to use it for a couple of weeks and then it is going to stay idle for your whole year. So Uberization or easy rent. Now one point with which I don't agree in this article is this thing, that unlike wheat residue which is used as fodder, paddy straw is not palatable to animals as it has high silica content. Yes, it has high silica content, but then we have a special animal called goat. Goat can digest this high silica content, and goat is farmer friendly, zero maintenance, breeding cycle is fast as well, meat, milk, leather, all these things that you can get from goat, and it can add as a we are talking about dairy industry or dairy sector, and goat's milk is in demand because of this diabetes, and for small kids, for them as well, this goat's milk is quite healthy. So there's a big industry out there, big potential of this I would say looking after goats, right? This thing can sort out this problem. It's a very eco-friendly organic way of sorting out this stubble burning issue. Want to know more about it? Do check out my special video lecture. Now let's talk about this last article. It's about this architecture is not the force. It's about this GDP, right? Generally what we see is that high numbers of GDP or growing number of GDP is an indication of economic progress. Yes, it is, but at the same time private investment is another indicator of economic progress. Now private investment is tied both to the present, if you are a private investor, then you look at current scenario, as well as you will have a sort of educational guess of future strength of a particular economy or a country, and based on that thing you will invest money in and economy. Now, government has to inspire confidence. That's what we call ease of doing business. Government has to create this environment, this proper environment in which people will be encouraged to invest more in a particular economy or in our country. Now, as far as private sector or this investment is concerned, where we find money, we find investment taking place or coming from corporate sector, big investments or big ticket projects, and then you have this household investment. That means in our culture, in India, we have this culture of saving money. So household saving is also a big source of money. Everyone saving, just imagine 2,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees on an average, then how much it will become at the end of the year. And if this money is invested in, or either it is injected in bank or in some other industries, then you can imagine how big this money can be. So these are two major sources of private sector investment, I would say. And if we go through the figures, then we find that since 2014, now Modi government is considered as a business friendly government, but then as well what we find is that there has been a decline in private corporate investment. There was a mild rise after 2014, but when it comes to household investment, it has fallen sharply. So overall, things are going down. Make in India has not created that sort of that environment that we were expecting it from. And now this article is talking about 4 elements or 4 basic pillars. One is FDI. Now you know it very well. We have talked about this thing, that FDI is of course money coming from outside into our country, but FDI is not the most important pillar, because we get more money from remittance compared to FDI. Now, digital payments network, government is trying to take us through, or to convert our economy into more digital economy, less cash economy after demonetization. But demonetization is considered as a big debacle. Then comes this GST again. Problems are going on with GST, and less government. We still find there are so many procedures that we have to go through. So these 4 pillars are not performing overall. You can say they are not performing very well. And there are 2 engines of growth, right? Generally, I'm talking about big picture. One is government injecting money, and the other is private sector injecting money. So when government is injecting money, government is also trying to indicate this thing to, or it's trying to send this message to private investors that yes, look, we are injecting money, so it's a good environment. You too can inject money. Now, government has injected a huge amount of money this year, but this has not worked as a confidence booster for private investor. So that's everything in today's articles. Now let me take you through very quickly to this articles for arrested for this violence, mob lynching. Supreme Court in order to reopen IT case against Gandhi's. Augusta middleman extradited from UAE to India. So that's a good news. Disabilities Act, we have a new report, and not all states, in fact many states are poor performers. Even police officials are not safe, has been said by NHRC. Accounting methods of climate fund questioned by our minister. And when I say our minister, I'm talking about Harshvardhan ji, who has represented India in this COP24. India, US will sort out a sanctions waiver, has been said by Mattis, because our defense minister is there in USA. India's Bhutan Hydel project is ready. That's a good news. Demonetization pushed up direct tax collection, has been said by Central Board of Direct Tax. Device norms for payment apps has been told by RBI. And patent granted by India up by 50% in 2017. It was 8,248 in 2016. The figure has gone up and it has touched 12,387 last year. So that's not bad. Here you can have a sort of, you can say, breakdown. We have this various different countries have various different strength. So when it comes to Qatar is predominant a gas-based economy, or they have more gas compared to crude. And these are your vocabs. This is your answer for yesterday's pick-based question. I have 2 pick-based questions for you guys. Both of them are important for global level or for geopolitics. So the first one is this one. This one, observe, the person, observe the country which he is representing, and also observe an organization that this person is representing, and he has issued a very important statement. So what this statement is all about, and again this person has issued a very important statement. So what this statement is all about, things are a bit interrelated, but I'm sure you are going to crack it. This is your answer of yesterday's question, and This is my FB page. This is my Twitter handle from where you can download the PDF of today's lecture. Dear friends, please make sure that you take part in question and you provide your answers in the comment section of this video. Please do share this lecture with other students. And God bless you all. Enjoy your studies. I'll see you tomorrow early morning. Till then, Jai Hind.